Yeah, pineapple suit day. Had to be done because we are celebrating today. It's actually dark outside, I don't need the sunnies. Celebrating pineapple suit, because why not? Yeah, 50,000 cumulative views on the Boysies. Now, it's only took 712 days for that to happen. The channel started on January 19th, 2017, which averages out to 70 views a day. Thanks for watching, everyone. Made this more for myself, for the comments that I hear when someone says to me, "Oh, you make YouTube videos?" And I say, "Yes," and then they look at my channel and they're like, "You only got 13 views." And I say, "Yep, I did on your last video." But then I drop the stat that, boom, 50,000 cumulative views, and that's all that matters. And they go, "Wow, you're a big deal." Yes, I am. Let's see how long it takes to get to 100,000, but just funnily enough, what's the top one is, the Kickstarter reviews, which we started off doing the Boysies with Jordan. That's got the most views, 9,625. Then the second one's a rule of thirds, 4,100. Then we're going down the list a bit. This cracks me up. 4 tips to enjoy your next grazing table, 2,200. That, well, I don't know how these videos go up, but that one's funny. It basically tips, don't eat bread. Anyway, a good amount at the moment, it's 1,000 views, so they get there eventually, you know, just let them simmer. That's not the point of this video. The point of this video actually is a topic that gets brought up quite a lot now with the invention of the old smartphone, and particularly the new phones, be it iPhone 10 or whatever, with portrait mode. And I'm sort of just making this video to convince myself, mainly myself, of the reason why is a good investment, why a DSLR is a good investment, and why it's better than a phone. So this is not an iPhone 10, and it doesn't have portrait mode. This is just a normal iPhone with just a normal camera. But over New Year's I got to try my friend's one, and that has portrait mode on it. And more than portrait mode, the thing I was more interested with is it's sort of like dark studio light portrait mode, where it just crops out everything in the background and just keeps the subject and everything else is dark. So I took a couple of photos of my friends on that, sent it to myself, and I just wanted to analyze those photos, analyze photos that I have taken on the DSLR, and then just talk about why these cameras are better, but also why having a phone with portrait mode is really cool. So I'm not too worried about just the normal portrait mode where it's not backlit. But anyway, let's get straight into the photos. And so, here's the first photo of Matt, and right off the bat, it just looks epic. It's got, yeah, just, especially in black and white, these portrait photos are amazing. I darkened the glasses a bit on the phone, just with a bit of a black pen, did some editing, just on the phone, everything was on the phone. But first of all, I was really impressed. I didn't actually think it would be this good on the computer, because I'm looking at it full size on the computer, and they're quite big files. There seems to be a lot of pixels. But right there, that photo, I was like, that was one of the first ones I took with portrait mode, and it just got me thinking, this is epic. Let's have a look at another one. This one here is Dave, and I've gone for a couple of effects here. Basically just sort of focusing on the eyes, sort of bump down the clarity down the bottom. I think that's a bit of a radial filter. Again, black and white looks great. It's got a bit of a weird crop on the right hand shoulder. You can sort of see where it's merged and where the software has sort of calculated what it's done. But all in all, cool portrait. And lastly, here's Joanne, and that's, again, I quite like her glasses, and that really stood out. I think you can sort of tell that this was shot in not as good lighting. So this was shot in low light, and also the contrast between the subject and the background wasn't as great. So it sort of, the skin got really smooth and the hair lost a lot of detail. But all in all, across the 3 portraits, I think this is, that I was just amazed by it. What I was pleased about though, is that taking a photo like like this on your iPhone helps, well, it particularly helped me to take these photos after using this lens. And what I mean by that is by having a DSLR, focusing on the theory of photography, you are focusing on what your subject is, you're focusing on the frame, on the mood, on setting, on the light, how the light hits the face. You're learning the principles of photography, and then whatever format you use it in, whether it's a budget lens or whether it's a phone, or whether it's a portrait phone, or whether it's a really good lens, those principles, regardless of all that gear, are the important things. You still need some sort of skill to take a cool portrait photo in portrait mode. And this is the part where I think the DSLR really shines. And it's going to be an obvious conclusion, but it did help me go, why am I spending all this money on these cameras? Is it worth it when you can just do what appears to be the same thing on the phone? And this is the big limitation of the portrait mode, is that it requires a really specific set of circumstances, and that versatility is where you lose out. So you have to be a certain distance from the subject. Great if they're your friends and you're comfortable, but if not, it gets a bit harder. The lighting has to be pretty much perfect. It can't be too dark. You can't artificially create these shadows in the back. You can't do quite a lot of things. If you don't get it just right, the software struggles. If the contrast isn't as good between the background, it struggles. It looks a lot better in black and white. That's why I changed those photos to that. So with all of these little factors coming in, that's under those elements it succeeds, but it does fall over in all the other elements. And that point right there is why I up-buzz on a DSLR. And I'm just going to demonstrate the principle with one photo that I took. So after taking these portrait photos, I went out and just took a quick photo of Hannah's cousin, and here it is. Now this is edited a little bit. Yeah, this is, you can sort of see the background there. So I just went into Photoshop, cut out around the pink sari, and then created that, put a bit of a drop shadow on, was just trying to replicate the same effect. The epic thing about this is that this is shot on just my normal kit lens. This is shot on one of these, the 18-135. If you buy a Canon 80D in the shop, it comes with this. So I shot it with this, and it's not a lens I've really been using. I've used it a lot, and I like it, but I feel like I hit the sort of limit of it, I felt, after seeing the difference in what this lens made. However, shooting on this lens has helped me shoot on this lens. And part of this photo was sort of getting closer to the subject, asking Hannah's cousin just to look into the lens, making sure it was eye level, and then really I was focused because I saw the pink, and I just knew as soon as I shot it that I'd be able to create that effect. And it's really easy to create that effect in Photoshop. So you do have to jump through a few more hoops to get to this, but you just have full control, especially if you shoot on RAW. You have full control, and I'm sort of doing a bit in Lightroom, exporting to Photoshop, cutting out there, and then coming back to Lightroom and just touching up to create a sort of portrait that I want, to create a mood I want. And I think for me, that principle right there is the reason why a DSLR is awesome. And also, if the lighting was terrible, if the subject's further away, if there's all these conditions, the DSLR doesn't matter. We could still create that effect no matter where. For versatility, sure, you can't beat that phone. The fact that you can just go bang, take the photo, there's no stuffing around really in Photoshop and that, although we did do some editing on the phone. But in terms of getting from there to there, you can't beat the speed. But in terms of, I think, the art of it and the overall quality, obviously the DSLR is going to win out. The thing for me that was awesome about that shot of Hannah's cousin in particular was it felt like a growth point, and it was basically transitioning the lessons I've learned from the expensive lens to a normal lens, and proving to myself that it isn't just about the gear. So all in all, if you're wondering, are we doomed, DSLRs? I just don't think so. I think if you're just starting out like I am, and you have people that sort of laugh at you when you lug your big, like, bulky camera, and you've got your lenses and all that, and they say, oh, this is redundant, you dinosaur, I think it's quite cool. Just that's how I felt this whole process. Is it's cool to know that there still is value in this. And I think if you're going to go down the art path and you're going to sort of invest into the camera, of course you're going to get way better results than you can get on a phone. If you're just a punter and you don't really care about all the stuff, you don't care about the art, you just want it fast, yeah, just leave the DSLR at home. Take the phone. Do both. If I had an iPhone 10, I'd be taking heaps of photos on that because there's times where you don't need the full DSLR. But yeah, anyway, after all of that, yeah, I actually quite enjoyed that one. Just come out with a little essay of my thoughts on the subject. But for now, gotta go, take some more photos, try find some cool shots, and I'll make sure to see you in the next video. Okay, these things keep falling off the walls. It's so bad. That cannot keep them stuck up. Especially C3PO, he's always fallen off.